Hello, welcome back to VEDS, where I make a video every other day in September. In my last video, I tried to combine two of Tessa's challenges that they gave us this year by doing the Vivaldi challenge, where you do 4 pieces of art that together kind of encapsulate the 4 seasons, and the 60-second video challenge. And the reason I combined them and did them the way I did is that sometimes you have to let the chaos win. But I will admit that while I stand by each of my picks as a reflection of the season, I did miss a key part of Tessa's challenge, which is talking about the transitions between the seasons. You should not do a movie marathon that begins with an anime coming-of-age teen heartbreak type movie, followed by murder mystery, then one of the most acclaimed horror movies ever made, straight into The Sound of Music, one of the most acclaimed musicals ever made. That would be actually kind of good. I kind of want to do that now, but they do somewhat clash with each other. So I'm going to take another shot at the Vivaldi challenge this video and do it specifically talking about the filmography of one of my favorite directors, Wes Anderson. I think a lot of people know the Wes Anderson vibe by now. They understand kind of the aesthetic nature of his films. They recognize his familiar cast members that he always brings back. But I do think that that familiar nature has kind of flattened the idea of Wes Anderson in a lot of people's eyes. Not that Wes Anderson needs me to defend him. He is a very acclaimed and established director. However, I do think that this will be a fun lens to look at some of his movies through. And since I have definitely exceeded double the length of yesterday's video without really getting into this video's topic, I should begin. So let's take a look at summer and look at Moonrise Kingdom. Moonrise Kingdom takes place on a small New England island that hosts a Boy Scout-esque group as well as some other residents, and it just happens to be that one of these Boy Scouts and one of the residents decide they're going to run off together, and you get a sweet little coming-of-age romance story. Much like my previous summer pick, A Girl Who Leapt Through Time, I am nailing down on the coming-of-age romance, adventure, escape, go out and have fun and freedom type deal. But what Moonrise Kingdom and A Girl Who Leapt Through Time both do is it creates a transitory nature. The little running away that our two main characters do here isn't going to last. The parents and the other Boy Scouts are all going after them and looking for them, but also there's kind of this foreboding storm that's going to come to the island that is foreshadowed and eventually comes in the third act. That kind of, in some ways, aesthetically represents the end of this story. But just because something is transitory doesn't mean that it has lost its value, that the adventure wasn't real, that the escape wasn't thrilling, that the immature attempts at romance weren't developmentally valuable to our main characters. And so it's a movie that very much captures that summer feel while also acknowledging the passing of it. I also want to state before I get into the rest of these that while these are encapsulations of a season, that doesn't mean that they necessarily have to exclusively take place in that season. Some of them span multiple seasons, but for the specifics of this video, they are placed within one. So without further ado, The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Wes Anderson's first foray into stop-motion animation and his first adaptation of a Roald Dahl story. The Fantastic Mr. Fox is about Ocean 11's very own George Clooney returning to the heist genre in a bit of a different form. Mr. Fox is a thief who wants to upgrade his family's situation at the same time as the farmers in the valley that they live want to stop him and the other animals. It is a beautiful and charming story that is dripping with kind of a fall aesthetic. Lots of amber tones, this natural setting. It's just a very autumn movie. You just really can't put any other Anderson movie into the fall slot. However, like a lot of other good heist movies, the passage of time matters here. There's a deadline, fall will not last forever, and Mr. Fox needs to pull off one last job. I'm actually very excited to watch this as fall sets on. I probably won't get to it in VEDS, but first week of October, I am watching Fantastic Mr. Fox. Winter was tough because I think I could have put the Grand Budapest here, I could have put the French Dispatch here, but I landed on the Royal Tenenbaums, which doesn't have like the textual winter elements that the Grand Budapest does, but I think I put it here because this is one of his most somber movies. There's a lot of resentment between these characters. There's a lot of baggage. But it's also a movie about reconnecting, about rekindling familial bonds, and the empathy and the healing that that takes in a way that kind of feels like a Christmas movie at some points. Like, not your traditional Christmas movie, but it has kind of that redemptive aspect that a lot of Christmas movies have. Like, in Christmas movies, a lot of times the bad guys, it's just like, oh, they just wanted a present or something like that. You know, it's like, there's good in them. And I mean, there's not a lot of good in Royal Tenenbaum, but what little there is will scrape by in this movie. And I feel like you get this transition from the cold family dynamics at the beginning of the movie to a more connected, still somewhat tentative, but more warm bond at the end of the movie. It also plays the Charlie Brown Christmas song at one point, so there's extra points. And finally, for spring, I selected Rushmore. This was a tough one because I was this close to selecting Bottle Rocket. In fact, I have the DVD just in arm's reach, just in case I decided last minute that I wanted to replace that with this. But why did I ultimately go with Rushmore? I think ultimately it's because Rushmore is the story of Max, a character with a lot of confidence, a lot of false confidence, who loves the idea of being at his school. And so you follow him through this school year, through the ups and downs, as he falls in love with a teacher and is rivals with Bill Murray for her affection. It's kind of a weird and sometimes dark movie. But Max maybe gets the most development out of any Wes Anderson character because he learns a lot of hard lessons, and his false confidence turns into real confidence. He's able to use his passions and his skills and his talents for good things. As he kind of comes out of the school year, as you might in the spring, he also is able to kind of find a new way of being. And that's very spring. Spring is, you know, maybe it's because I'm religious, but you know, it's resurrection, it's coming back. And what better way to come back than come back with some lessons learned? And there's my second attempt at the Vivaldi challenge. Maybe a little bit more of a sincere attempt, but it wasn't as fun to make. I mentioned that Bottle Rocket was a spring movie and that French Dispatch and Grand Budapest were winter movies. I'm not sure if Wes Anderson has made another fall movie. I need to rewatch the Darjeeling Limited because I've only seen that one once. That could maybe fall into it. And for other summer movies, I think that Steve Zissou is pretty obvious with that. I also think Isle of Dogs, once again, only one that I've seen once, could maybe go into that. But I think the probably, even more than this one, the definitive summer movie that he has made is probably Asteroid City. But those are just some of the other Wes Anderson movies and how they fit into the seasons. He also made a really interesting commercial that was Christmas themed. It was called Come Together. I have no idea what it was advertising, but it was it was like a self-parody of Wes Anderson. I love Wes Anderson. Anyway, tomorrow's video will move away from this specific challenge, but I will still bring up a couple movies in it because I will be revealing the answers to my everyday quotes video. So, see you then.